So um, styles are trending back to the more traditional and detailed. We believe you're going to see more raised panel doors, more detailed stacked moldings as we go forward. Um, Something similar to maybe this bathroom on the right. If you're unaware, CWP does have in the back of our product catalog a number of stacked molding sets that you can order just by choosing the code for the set. They come loose, they don't come pre-stacked. So we've got 10 different ones back there. This is some of them. They range in height from 1.25 to 8.5 inches. And they're in the, as I say, in the back of the millwork section, page 316 and 317 in your product catalog. When you start talking about stack moldings, you're going to talk about you need a starter molding. And what I see most frequently coming in from designers is they go immediately to solid lumber. Solid lumber is 3/4 inch thick. We also offer a spacer molding, and a spacer molding is 7/8 inch thick. A door, a 3/4 inch door, when it's put on a cabinet between the bumper and the hinge, projects 7/8 from the face of the cabinet. So by using a spacer molding, you're actually lining the face of that molding up with the face of your door. In this scenario, it's setting back 1/8 inch. Not a big deal, but it's a finishing touch that makes a difference. And so on page 310 in the catalog, we have spacer molding / overlay styles. It prices the same as solid lumber. But again, it's that 7/8 inch thick. So how do you calculate your moldings? That's always a question. And I know everybody's always up against the budget. So you're always trying to save a little bit of money here and there. And so we're going to suggest to you that you total up the number of inches where the crown touches the cabinetry and divide that by 12 and round up to the next full foot. We're going to add 1 foot of trim for every miter. And then we're going to suggest minimum of 8 feet, depending on the size of the project. Maybe it's more, to allow for waste, off-ball, utilization of the molding, and any miscuts if your installers ever miscut crown. So we've got this little example here. And so.
Hey, Dave, I have a question.
Yep.
Sorry. You said we add 1 foot for each miter. Are you saying
no,
CWP automatically does that?
No, I'm saying you do it. Okay. This is what we're suggesting.
Okay.
So we're gonna add up all these face dimensions where the crown touches, comes up to 213 7/8 inches divided by 12, just under 18 feet. So I'm going to round that up to 18. I've got 4 miters, so I'm going to add 4 more feet. Now I'm at 22 feet. Then I'm going to add 8 feet for my waist and off-ball and miscuts. So 30 feet. So I've added 12 additional feet versus what actually touches the cabinet. So does that make sense to everybody? Anybody got any questions how we're doing that? So now I want to go through, what does it cost you if you have to order an additional 8-foot piece of Jordan's crown? So 30 minutes to process the order, and I'm going to assume a labor rate of $60 an hour for your project manager who's doing this. So that you've just invested $30. UPS, if you're lucky, it's a $15 charge, maybe more. Another 30 minutes to receive the order. Mark it, figure out where it goes, get it staged. Now we're going to send the installer who's got a burden rate of $100 an hour. It's going to take him 30 minutes to go to the job. He's going to spend 2 hours at the job, setting up, actually doing the work, cleaning up, and then 30 minutes to get to his next place. So that brings us to a grand total of $375. You saved $82 on the front end, but you've got to still spend that $82. So your added cost for trying to save that $82 on the front end is approximately $375. So Tom mentioned we see a lot of add-ons. In January, from our dealers, we had 80 add-on orders. 49 of them were for additional molding, some for as little as 2 feet of additional molding. Save yourself time, save yourself money, and order some extra on the front end. Any questions on that? Any comments?
Rob had questions, good questions. Rob, you want to tee those up? I'll help him out. So Rob Matthews asked, what's the longest piece that we can get?
Depends on the wood species. Generally speaking, you're looking at about 12 feet. If you're doing paint, I believe we've been known to go down the street to the local lumber yard and buy a 16-foot piece of poplar and mill it if you need a 16-footer. But I don't know that we can get any stained wood any longer than 12, and sometimes we can't even get 12.
And then the second question, Dave, was also from Rob. Will we mill custom molding profiles to match something that he sourced or you sourced locally?
For a cost, you got to have a knife cut. It's not expensive. You'd be much better off to source it locally, send it to us, and have us finish it, as opposed to paying anywhere from $750 to $1,500 net to get a knife cut, depending on the complexity. And I understand the questions coming from, hey, we're running house molding that we're painting, but we want it to blend with the molding that we're going to put over the cabinetry. If you can get the right species, send it into the factory, obviously for a fee, we'll stain it with your cabinets. Did that answer your questions, Rob?
It did. I've looked into getting crown molding sent up there, and shipping is enormous because you're sending 16-foot goods.
Well, and the way my dealers do it, and I have several who do it on a regular basis, is they wait for a truck to come and they bundle it up and send it back on a truck that's already going back to the plant.
That's a good idea. Never thought of that.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't want to send molding on common carrier. That 16-footer probably end up being 4.4s by the time it got there.
Yeah.
So now let's get into some more fun things. And the first picture I'm going to show you is wire mesh inserts. These happen to have come from Designs by Distinction. And you can do those. We'll do them for you. Obviously, it's going to need to be quoted depending on, I don't know if you've all looked at the cost of wire mesh. Depending on how tight the mesh gets, it can get really expensive for inserts, but it's a beautiful look. And of course, our drawing is just calling out that it's wire mesh, and there was a quote in the quote. This is a sink cabinet that literally came off the truck Tuesday morning. And I said, wait a minute, I need a picture of this. So it has 27-inch deep cabinet. It has some panels applied. And so that panel is basically an overlay, looks like it's a leg. It's got coved corners, has 1/2 inch by 3/4 molding. All the panels or stiles and rails are spec'd out to create that paneled leg look. Also on that job, we had corners for the island that are very similar in construction and detailing to the overlay on the front of the sink cabinet. So we've got an island with 3 parts cabinetry, and we want the look of a leg at each corner. So those legs are just going to get installed in the field. And by installing them in the field, they've got a little bit of flexibility if they're having described the cabinetry to the floor. Custom end panels, a way for you to distinguish your designs. And I'm not sure if Victoria is on this call.
I am.
So I'm gonna pick on you in this presentation, Victoria. You do some
Wonderful.
beautiful work. So, this is something that she designed and wanted that was different than a standard X cross end panel. So it's all spelled out. A different end panel. It's a flush panel with solid stock added to it, creating these picture frames, both on the end as well as the back of the island. A rather unique custom end panel. This particular one, the builder, his previous client had done a crossbuck end, and she felt that it was her proprietary design and he couldn't repeat it. So they then came up with the idea of adding this additional box. So to build it, we started with a 5/4 frame, then went to 3/4 on the X and 1/2 inch on the box. So you're never trying to get those seams perfectly flush. And the finish on this is actually a wire brushed finish with a custom glazing, which is why it looks as rough as it does. A beautiful half wall with a X-frame end on it. Half wall made thick enough for the outlets and switching at the island. Again, a unique end panel. Instead of an X, it's a diamond. And again, just spelling out the details. Valance style toe kicks. I'm seeing more of those. And if you order a standard Valance style toe kick, as shown in the catalog, it's part of the face frame. And that's a look. We can also do field install Valance toe kicks where we're taking a loose Valance, putting a detail on the top that matches the baseboard, and applying it after the fact. So it's as simple as we're going to pull the stiles down, we're going to shorten the toe kick, increase the bottom rail so you have some place to mount the Valance. And this is a custom Valance that the dealer designed and has reused multiple times. The first time they used it, there's a templating charge to create the template. But if you don't reinvent it each time, you can spread that cost out over several jobs. And these are a couple of other custom Valances that they've used for toe kicks. So this is an interesting island in my mind, in that normally when you have those cabinets recessed from the edge of the countertop at a seating area, you're going to have flush toe kicks. And these have loose, or not loose, recessed toe kicks, which is just an unusual look. But I think it's a stunning result when she puts in the toe kick lighting. So stiles to the floor and flush toe kicks. Stiles to the floor give you the opportunity to have an inexpensive, as in no additional cost, leg. And if you've not used them in the past, when we do a stile to the floor, we flush the inside of that stile so that if you are running base molding, your installer has something to put that base molding up against. In this particular case, mixing both a flush toe kick and a stile to the floor to create a unique look. Applied moldings. So in this case, we have both an island with access on both sides, a second island that has seating around it, and we pre-applied moldings. If you've not taken advantage of having us pre-apply moldings where they're appropriate, and obviously you can't do it in a whole kitchen on all your wall and tall cabinets, but you can in a situation like this, where they put in a deluxe crown with dental cuts and a clover molding. And they did it both on the seating area as well as the cabinetry. However, on the cabinets, we applied that crown with dental cuts and we applied the clover molding, even though that island did not ship in one piece. On the table area, we sent the crown molding loose because we were also sending all of this trim board loose. And so, not knowing exactly how the installers were going to install it, we sent that loose, but that island, we did apply it. So if you want it applied, make sure the drawing says molding applied. Otherwise, it'll come in that bundle of millwork shipped separately. another application of a clover molding. In this particular case, on the front of the island, the functioning side, there are drawers and that molding does not follow through. But on the back of the island, false drawers in the knee space, false doors, and that clover molding will follow all the way around through. And that's all pre-installed. Your installer doesn't have to miter it. Your installer doesn't have to finish the back of it to try and hide all the nail holes. And a rough number, dealer cost for each miter is $15. In my experience, you can't have an installer set up a saw, much less do anything, for 15. A vanity that we saw recently at the factory, again with applied moldings. So custom ordered legs, and then molding applied to a wide top rail, molding applied to a wide bottom rail, and wrapped right around those custom legs. So it creates quite the look. And I'm sure everyone on this call has done at least one of our heavy duty floating shelves routed for lights. Tom and I were talking earlier, and it'd be so nice if there was a standard where you didn't have to specify how big and how deep the light groove is and where you want it positioned. But the world we live in is that's not the case. So we're going to ask you for that information, and you can do light grooves up or down or both. So who's got questions?